You're listening to Chuck Cash on the radio.
Stop it.
Chuck Cash is on the radio. What? Chuck Cash on the radio? Yes, Chuck Cash is on the radio. He's on the radio now.
How do? And welcome to the Chuck Cash Radio Show. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll be taking a look back at the week's top stories and events in the week beginning Monday the 3rd of December. However, I'd like to begin this week with an apology. Due to my severe lack of talent, evident when it comes to impersonations in previous broadcasts, I feel duty-bound to issue the following apology to Joey Barton, Frankie Dettori, David Cameron, Rupert Murdoch, Rebecca Brooks, the nation of France, the Germans, Australians, and the Jewish community. Serious newsreaders and broadcasters, people from all over East Anglia, and the Pope. Not that I've actually done an impersonation of the Pope yet, but it's only a matter of time. Just be thankful I haven't yet felt the need to attempt a Welsh accent, as it would surely upset those listeners from Wales, and possibly one or two with an East Indian origin.
On the radio now.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridgeshire are expecting a baby. The royal couple are due to have their first child next summer, although Kate has been admitted to a central London hospital suffering from hypemesis gravidarum, which is Latin for morning sickness. It's often confused with hyperphilus scofieldarum that David Cameron suffers from, which is Latin for this morning sickness. Kate's condition has been described as acute nausea. Well, of course it is. The lovely Kate would have acute nausea, wouldn't she? No doubt she'll have dazzling puffy ankles, delightful stomach cramps and adorable diarrhea too. Media commentators say Kate's pregnancy is bound to have a negative effect on the public's enthusiasm for a better regulated press, as now they'll accept whatever it takes to keep up to date and, of course, get that first shot of the royal offspring, even if it means hacking medical records, bonus gynecologists and a specially adapted probe lens. Union nationalists celebrated the royal news in Belfast by kicking down the doors of City Hall, waving Union Jacks in the face of concerned councillors and screaming "God save the Queen." My mother, however, greeted the news by saying, "Morning sickness, bloody morning sickness, I had that with you and your brother, for months. I didn't get bloody days off with comfortable bed rest, attended to by all the top Harley Street physicians. No, I had to put my boots on, wipe my chin and get to bloody work. Couldn't afford not to. And no matter how long it lasted or how bad it got, it didn't come with a fancy Latin name. Hyper what's it gravidoodah, bloody hell. It's morning sickness, plain and simple. And that clown, David Cameron, said, the whole nation will be out celebrating tonight. Celebrating? Celebrating with what? Bloody morning sickness. Bloody, I've got morning sickness. I'm sick of the bloody morning, the afternoon and the night. I'm sick of it all. But it is lovely to see you, dear. How's that little radio show of yours coming along this week, then? Bit better now, thanks, Mum.
I said, yes, Chuck Cash is on your radio now.
Chancellor George Osborne has announced he's determined to clamp down on major companies like Starbucks, Amazon and Google, who've avoided paying corporation tax in the UK. So now he can expect the risk of saliva in his coffee and his Christmas presents not to arrive until sometime in the middle of February. Just like the rest of us. And in future, when he Googles his own name, he can expect it to link directly to sites such as Chicks with Dicks, Nazi Rent Boys, and 100 people I'd like to slap before I die. Osborne lets slip how he plans to target companies such as Starbucks. He's bringing in a new tramp tax on the homeless people caught sleeping in their shop doorways. Israel announces it's to build a further 3,000 new settlement homes in the disputed Golan Heights territory, threatening a rather fragile ceasefire currently in effect. Ironic that less than 70 years since the Holocaust, the actions of Israel do more to recruit members to fascist parties than any other country, and in numbers the like of which has not been seen for, well, just over 70 years. Pope Benedict has opened a Twitter account, although he isn't expected to actually tweet anything himself. Well, not yet. although I'm determined to elicit at least one response to my many comments and questions I've sent him today. This latest marketing move by the Vatican is one of many in an attempt to improve the pontiff's reputation with young Catholics worldwide, helping to make him look more relevant in a modern world. By being a looming presence, saying nothing of relevance and having little or no effect on the modern world. The Pope also briefly opened an eBay account, although it seems now there may have been some confusion after he requested news of his new PayPal account. PayPal account? Oh, forget it. Texting is 20 years old today. On the 3rd of December 1992, the words Happy Christmas were sent via text message to a mobile phone for the very first time. It said the second text message received was a rather longer one, and it read, "Our records show that you may be entitled to compensation up to £3,000 if you've been sold PPI in the last 18 months. Royal update, Kate is feeling slightly better. More to follow. Atheists will now be free to join the Cub Scouts, as they plan to drop all religious references from their Pledge of Allegiance. Well, thank God for that. Up until now, atheists have had to mime the word God along with the rest of the troop, just like we all did. But it's thought that many of them will instead choose to grow up a bit before contemplating and confronting the inevitable no-brainer that is religion, just like we all did.
I know what I do is unpopular with the modern Scout philosophy, but I'm certainly not alone. Despite our numbers diminishing year after year, we still gather in small groups, as many others do around the world, each different and each choosing their own particular brand, but essentially we are cut from the same cloth. And contrary to popular belief, most of us choose not to inflict what is a personal life choice upon others who think differently to ourselves. And I am even willing to accept that sometimes what we do can be harmful to others, and most certainly destructive to ourselves. However, at the end of the day, it is but our choice and our choice alone to make. So, it is with some sadness that I bow to popular opinion and agree to leave the scouting community, as they've made it abundantly clear they are definitely a non-smoking organisation who will no longer tolerate people like me smoking behind the scout hut. Holy smokes.
And in Egypt, there's been more protests outside the presidential palace in Cairo, after President Morsi tried to amend the constitution and give himself new sweeping powers. Well, having seen the state of Tahrir Square after the last protest, he may need those sweeping powers to tidy up a bit. In a bid to cut back expenditure, British Airways announced they're to lay off 400 senior cabin crew. Well, let's hope it's the annoying ones that clip your elbows with the duty-free trolley and not the pilots.
On the radio now.
David Cameron calls editors from all major newspapers to Downing Street and gives them a 2-day deadline, insisting that they agree on an independent industry regulator. But he stops short of backing it up with any statutory change in the law, insisting government should not be dictating what the press do, as he dictated to the press what they should do. The sperm count of Frenchmen fell by a third between the years 1989 and 2005, a study suggests. The semen of more than 26,000 Frenchmen was tested in the study, reported in the Journal of Human Reproduction. Scientists say affecting factors may include a poor diet, pollution or changes in the air atmosphere, but confess they don't really know why there's been a decline in the sperm count of the average Frenchman. I'll tell you why. Lazy. Wednesday the 5th sees Chancellor George Osborne's autumn statement. There's initial disappointment to the statement when the Chancellor announced there'll be no miracle cure. The disappointment was that he was referring to the economy, and it wasn't a personal announcement. He went on to say that there'd been lower growth than forecast, higher borrowing, and the period of austerity is now estimated to last a couple of years longer than expected. In fact, almost exactly the same amount of time as Cameron and Osborne have been screwing up the economy. Two Australian DJs make a prank call to the King Edward VII Hospital, posing as the Queen and Prince Philip. And even with the ridiculous accent put on by the two DJs, they actually managed to bypass reception and elicit some details from Kate's ward sister. Well, they did better than I did, because I tried the Prince Charles trick. I'd like to speak to Kate, please. But they weren't having any of it. The bloody Queen. Sounded like Edna Everett. Hello, possums! I'm the Queen of England, and I'd like to speak to my daughter-in-law, Kate. Could you hurry up, please? I need to let the corgis out for a royal slash, royal wee. Hoolaroo! Even I do a better impression of the Queen than that. Oh well, I suppose I'll have to do what I normally do. Buy a bag of grapes, slip on a frock and tell the ward sister I'm Prince Edward.
I said, yes, Chuck Cash is on the radio now.
Police have arrested BBC 5 Live sports commentator Stuart Hall, charging him with rape and sexual assault, historic charges dating back to the late 1970s. As of last night, there was no word from Mr. Hall or his agent, but it's understood at this point he will not be playing the Joker. And for all of you playing along at home with the BBC Dirty Dozen bingo, Stuart Hall is now ticked off. Latest royal news. Kate is still improving slowly. No more word right now, but we'll keep you updated as soon as we hear anything. Literally anything. Jazz musician and pianist Dave Brubeck passes away on Wednesday the 5th, just a day before his 92nd birthday. Let's take 5.
On the radio now.
Out now, the Chuck Cash Austerity Christmas CD, featuring the classic It's Beginning to Smell a Lot Like Bullshit, and Silent Pope, Holy Pope. Not forgetting, Dave Lee Travis last went out, but not for several weekends. And what Christmas CD would be complete without I'm Dreaming of a Cheap Christmas? Also includes bonus track Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. Although it must be pointed out, you never rock around a Christmas tree, not without doing a full health and safety risk assessment at least 6 weeks prior to Christmas. The limited CD also contains bonus tracks O Little Town of Cheltenham, Feck Them All, Ding Dong Jeremy and Sky, In the Bleak Mid-England, O Come All Ye Feckless, Broke in George and David City, and I Saw Mummy Drinking Thunderbird. The Chuck Cash Austerity Christmas CD, out now in all major retailers.
On the radio now.
Yes, Mrs. Minister, a new BBC Fly on the Wall documentary starts tonight. It's set in the family home of a serving cabinet member. Hello, darling. Good day at work. Now look, whether it was a good day or a bad day is by the by, and of course, it's all dependent upon the point of references you're using. Was it a bad day yesterday? Will it be a good day tomorrow? Who knows? And as you know, there are many complicating factors this week. You have to take into account before I could give you an accurate assessment of the current level of feeling. Darling, I only asked you how your day was. Yes, but the question you need to ask, perhaps, is how many men and women across the country are coming home from work today and saying, yes, I've had a good day. And then ask yourself, were there more people having a good day at work under the last government? I'll tell you, they were not, probably. So it was a bad day then? I didn't say that. I think you're missing the point. There's a point? I was just asking about your day. Understand this. Under the circumstances, and after inheriting the mess left behind by the previous administration, I believe I genuinely see some green shoots, and there's definitely positive signs in the marketplace. The mood music in the city all indicates to an increase in the general level of public optimism. Oh, well, that all sounds wonderful, dear. So what would you like for dinner? Dinner? Now look, what I want or what I don't want for dinner isn't the issue. The question should be, oh, never mind. I never get a straight answer out of you. I'll tell you what the question shall be. I'll tell you what it never is. How was your day, dear? What would you like for dinner? What? Oh, forget it. Where are you going? What have I said now? Oh, if I live to be 100, I'll never understand women. I just wish they'd bloody say what they mean. Royal update. Kate has been discharged from the King Edward VII Hospital and will be staying at Kensington Palace for a period of pampering and rest. More to follow. Now it's time for your local news. Bugger, it's been cold, isn't it? Have you seen the weather forecast? I tell you who hasn't. Essex County Council. They've had to apologise for the chaos on the roads on Wednesday morning after being caught off guard by the frozen weather. One person was seriously hurt and over a dozen were injured in 80 accidents on the Essex roads between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. Derek Lewis, Cabinet Minister for the roads, said our crews couldn't get from their homes to the areas that needed the most attention because of the poor conditions on the roads. Well, that's because you didn't bloody grip them, innit? Idiot. Dad's Army Museum in Thetford say they are ecstatic at getting Corporal Jones's 1935 Ford box van from the TV series in a recent auction. That sold for £63,100, more than double its estimated reserve price. However, the museum have had to borrow the money for the latest acquisition because they ain't got it, and because of the size of the vehicle, they won't actually be able to fit it in the Dad's Army Museum. But don't panic, instead that'll be on display in the nearby Charles Burrell Museum. That seemed like a stupid boy, doesn't it? Singer Dane Bowers has admitted charges of assault outside a nightclub in Nards last June. Yep, he admitted 2 counts, one of harassment and another of violent assault. Bowers, who rose to fame in the boy band Another Level, was ordered to carry out 120 hours unpaid work. Hang on a minute, that sounds like his disastrous 2006 All-Star reincarnation Upper Street to me. 120 hours of unpaid work. I bloody hope he ain't going to revive that old shite. The Light Dragoons have celebrated being given the freedom of Norfolk with a homecoming march through the streets of Dereham. When my friend who lives in Dereham told me, I didn't believe it. I thought he'd been drinking. I didn't think that dragons actually existed. Oh well, you live and learn, don't you? This has been your local news. You don't hear many songs about chickens, do you?
From far and wide they came.
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 To graze on the Fenland Plain.
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 Out on the Western Fen.
Out on the Western Fen.
Out went 100 hens.
Out went 100 hens.
All of them were game enough. 1 or 2 were bold. Some were only bantam weight, but none of them grew old.
None of them grew old.
None of them grew old. Out on the Western Fen.
Out on the Western Fen.
Lined up 10 by 10.
Lined up 10 by 10.
Steely-eyed and wary of those that come and go. The stakes were far too high for them. The prospects were so low.
They were very low.
They were very low. Sweat and blood,
tears of sweat and blood.
a plume of down disturbs the air, a victim crows defeat. An almost dead Rhode Island red turns a whiter shade of meat.
Whiter shade of meat.
A whiter shade of meat. Back from the Western Fen.
Back from the Western Fen.
With 1 less free range hen.
With 1 less free range hen.
An egg goes slow and a hunger strike. A chicken coo is spawned. Up yours, Bernard Matthews. See you at Yom Kippur.
At Yom Kippur.
At Yom Kippur. fen.
Out on the western fen,
Out went 100 hens.
out were 100 hens.
All of them were game enough, one or two were bold. Some were only bantamweight, but none of them grew old.
None of them grew old.
None of them grew old. Gallus, domesticus, funky chicken like you just don't care. No two the same with the English game. Throw your wings up in the air. On the path A news, our players' chest, image in which we trust. But the deep fried shit got you all finger licked. Everybody gonna get plucked. Gallus, domesticus, funky chicken like you just don't care. Who gives a heck about the order you peck? Throw your wings up in the air. Keep your back to the sun when you do the chicken run. On that I'll let you brood. When the hometown crowd yells murder most foul, the slowest then becomes fast food. Gallus, domesticus, funky chicken like it just don't care. No two the same with the English game. Throw your wings up in the air. On the path A news, our players' chest, image in which we trust. But the deep fried shit got you all finger licked. Everybody gonna get plucked. Gallus, domesticus, funky chicken like it just don't care. Who gives a heck about the order you peck? Throw your wings up in the air. We'll keep you back to the sun when you do the chicken run. On that I'll let you brood. When the hometown crowd yells murder most foul, slowest hen becomes fast food.
You're listening to Chuck Cash on the radio.
Stop it.
Max Clifford was arrested at 7:40 on Thursday morning on suspicion of sexual offences and taken in for questioning by detectives on Operation U-Tree, the investigation arising from the Jimmy Savile allegations. A worried-looking Clifford was released on bail 12 hours later, but on Friday morning he puts on a brave face when speaking to reporters. Well, I guess that's one advantage of being two-faced. The outspoken PR guru protested his innocence and says he's determined to clear his name. And knowing the slippery Max Clifford, he'll probably use his current notoriety to reassure his clients it's all part of the service. I'm only on the front pages of all the newspapers to keep you off the front pages of all the newspapers. But if found guilty and he wishes to preserve his already tarnished credibility, not to mention retain some of his more questionable clients, I've a feeling that Max Clifford is going to require a far better publicist than Max Clifford. And for those of you keeping score on your Dirty Dozen bingo card, Max Clifford is now ticked off. And if you had Mr. Clifford on your bingo card, you're eligible for an extra bonus. That bonus being just a tiny bit of satisfaction. The flags were out for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on Friday as she visits Northern Ireland. Flags? Uh-oh. Mrs. Clinton's visit to Northern Ireland coincides with recent sectarian violence, which is unfortunate as the trip to Northern Ireland was designed to celebrate the end of sectarian violence. Next stop for Mrs. Clinton will be Egypt, where she's to congratulate President Morsi on his peaceful transition into power, and then on to Japan, where she'll view progress of the clean-up from last year's tsunami.
I said, yes, Chuck Cash is on your radio now. Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of our little half an hour together this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Do you know what? I did. I really did. If you're a regular listener or just stumbled across this broadcast by accident, why not get in touch? You can find me on Twitter at Chuck Cash. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if your name's Max Clifford. Especially if your name's Max Clifford. The Chuck Cash radio show was written and performed by Chuck Cash, produced by Chuck Cash, all music written by Chuck Cash, and performed by Chuck Cash and the Fenland Cowboys. Sandwiches and coffees were made by Chuck Cash, and Kate's morning sickness rant was inspired by Silver Linen and Omar Cash. The show is sponsored in part by the ever-patient Mrs. Cash. Thanks for listening, Crockers. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you do, even if it means throwing up the morning after. I'm just off to see what the Pope's written about me on Twitter. Take care until next week. Nights.